So are you quite worried about a debt blow-up in Europe, or a blow-up in the debt markets there?
Well, I think you'd have to accept there's a risk that those markets could be disrupted if they can't solve the problem of these small, highly indebted nations in Europe. So we've taken the view that, with advice from the Debt Management Office and the Treasury, that conditions in the last 3 or 4 months have been favourable. And the effect of that has been that our interest rate has dropped from just under 6% to just over 5%. So we've taken advantage of that window. From 1st of July, we'll be borrowing significantly less. It'll be down to about 100 million a week.
Because another answer of not being exposed so much to those debt markets is cutting spending even more this year, which you could have done.
Well, we think we've got the balance about right. We've got one of the faster reductions in deficits in the developed world by 2014. If we stick to our track, there'll only be a couple of developed countries that have got surpluses. We'll be one of them.
There's a mention in one of the, I'm not sure if it's the Crown financial statements or the budget, that the money that's been borrowed in advance is being invested in financial assets. So what are those financial assets, and does this mean Treasury's actually making money on borrowing?
Oh, they are invested in they're effectively in cash in the Reserve Bank. I mean, you need to talk to the DMO, Debt Management Office, or the Reserve Bank about the details of that. But it's just holding the cash until we need it, and we certainly will be needing it over the next 12 months. Because what drives the debt isn't that we pick a number about how much debt we have. What drives it is the cash we need to build schools, roll out broadband, maintain working for families, pay national superannuation. Those requirements are real. Each week we'd have to have the cash ready to meet all those requirements, and we have.
So exporters could argue that to get your books sort of in a clever way, sort of in better order, they're paying the price of $1.50.
Well, it's possible that the government's high levels of borrowing have put some pressure on the dollar. We're fully aware of that. It's one of the reasons in the budget we are reducing our spending and reducing our borrowing, so that from July onwards we're going to be out in the market borrowing about 100 million a week instead of what's recently been 380 million a week.
So when the government says it's had to borrow $380 million a week, and as a result they say they had to cut working terms, that's not actually the case, is it?
No, it is the case. Look, whether it's 300 million a week or 380 is pretty minor in the scheme of things. The fact is, this year we've run a $16.7 billion deficit. We need to show a track back to surplus. And one of the ways we're doing that is by trimming the large income support programs.
But $80 million a week isn't actually money, is it?
Well, all it is bringing forward some of the debt. So if we didn't borrow a bit more now, this year, we'd be borrowing a bit more next year. It doesn't change the total amount of debt, it just means we brought it forward a bit because we could get a lower interest rate.